Hello, everyone. My name is Terry Holscher, and I'm with the Addicts Mom. And this afternoon, we're so blessed to be here with Sharon Weber, the co-founder and chief executive officer of the Haven at College. And she is going to share with us a bit about her personal journey as well as the Haven at College. So welcome. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Terry, and it's really my honor and privilege to be here with you today. So thanks for including me.
Sure. Okay, so Sharon, just let us get to know you a little bit and just tell us a little bit of your personal journey and just more about who Sharon is.
Absolutely. Well, I think maybe what's relevant to this group, one of the things that's relevant is that I'm a mom, and I have two beautiful daughters who are 31 and 28. And so I've been a parent for several decades here. And I actually have one of those daughters that has struggled with mental health. And so I know what it's like to be the mom of a child that struggles. I also have struggled myself with addiction, and so just starting with growing up in an alcoholic home, and so I've been around the disease of addiction all my life, and growing up with an alcoholic mom was really tough. And obviously when you're young and you're in a home where it's confusing and you don't really understand addiction or alcoholism, you don't really know what's going on. You just know it's not quite right. And so that was my story. And one thing that is really baffling about the disease of addiction is that so many of us that grow up in those homes swear that we will never repeat that cycle. And so it was a real surprise to me when I found myself as a mother of two beautiful women at the top of my career. I had a career in advertising for many years, started in New York City and then was in Asia for 15 years, raised my daughters in Asia. And when it was 15 years ago that I sort of crossed this line and had become my mother. And that's one of the things that I think is most baffling about the disease of addiction, is that it comes up on you with all your best intentions, with all your best thinking. All of a sudden you find yourself struggling. So I've seen addiction from the angle of being the daughter of an alcoholic to being the mother that became the alcoholic. And so I have a lot of compassion for people on both sides, those that struggle with the disease and those that are loved ones of people that are struggling. So that's a little bit of who I am.
Thank you. That's a great story, and it definitely is meaningful to all of us moms. And we definitely know that addiction does not discriminate. So we appreciate you sharing that. So tell us a little bit about how you came to be a co-founder of the Haven at College and just a little bit about the organization itself.
Absolutely. And you'll be able to hear, I think, from my voice, I'm really very passionate about it. It really has become my purpose in my life at my age. I've changed careers. I've really put all of my time and energy against being of service to those that are struggling and trying to find solutions, and providing hope and courage to those that are in the throes of this disease, so that they can understand that there's a solution, and it's called recovery. And I think it's the best kept secret around. There's 23 million Americans in recovery. A lot of them are young, young students, a lot of young high school students. This disease starts early, as maybe some of you know, and so for me, it's become a lifelong mission. And the way it started was, as I mentioned, I crossed a line 15 years ago. And at that time, I was living in Los Angeles. I had, as I also mentioned, raised my daughters. I've been in Tokyo, Japan for 13 years with a large global ad agency. Had a great looking life on the outside, the picture perfect life, and inside I was struggling with alcoholism, which had been a lifelong struggle from the first time I picked up a drink when I was in high school. And so we'd come back to the United States, and I was at the top of my career running an ad agency, global office, actually the LA office of a global ad agency. And my daughters were in high school and was married and had this picture perfect life. And what happened was I could not stop drinking, and I could not stop drinking and driving. And those that know me would tell me the last thing I am is a rule breaker, or somebody that breaks the law. But this disease of addiction actually just took over. It hijacked my brain, and I, in spite of warnings and in spite of a lot of people trying to help me along the way, I ended up receiving 4 DUIs, and in the period of 5 years. And thankfully, and I believe that he saved my life, a judge sentenced me in July of 2005 to 16 months in state prison. And so in one fell swoop, I got to lose everything that was meaningful to me in my life. My job, my children, my marriage, my home, our financial wherewithal, everything was gone, and my freedom. And I went to prison. And I really do believe that had that judge not intervened when he did, that I wouldn't be here today. And so I feel very grateful that I'm one of the lucky ones. And I guess that one of the messages there is, as we're working with parents and working with university administrators, where we let them know that that interventions and ultimatums and are from my perspective are not bad things, because I can tell you, I didn't want that to happen. When it did happen, it really shook me. But I was so sick that I could not find a way out on my own. So the intervening of that judge really saved my life. When I came out of that experience and was trying to get my life back, I was living in a sober living, and I met Holly Sherman, who's my co-founder. And she had had a very similar experience to mine in her life. She had grown up in an alcoholic home. Our mom, we had alcoholic moms that were high performing. My parents had met at Stanford. It all looked good on the outside. How could my mom possibly be an alcoholic? And it's, that stigma piece. And her mom had been a very high performing physician, and we grew up in these confusing alcoholic homes, and then ended up having very similar stories and losing everything at a fairly late time in life. Holly's a brilliant lawyer, and so as we sat in this sober living home in 2005 with a lot of young people, a lot of young college students that had gotten kicked out of class, out of school, those that were trying to get back into college or on a college track, but had, because of their addiction, had not been able to do that. We were helping them, and one day it just sort of came to us. And I had been thinking about, from my own perspective, as someone that had launched products and brands and services in my career in advertising and changed perceptions, I was thinking there's nothing more in the world that needs to have a big shift in perception than an understanding of addiction, and more importantly, shining a light on recovery, that there is a solution and there's hope. And so I was thinking about how I could do that. And Holly one day said, "What about sober living on college campuses?" And we're sitting in a sober living, and that was a program that was really helping us get our lives back. And that was the beginning of the Haven. So we talked about it. We put a business plan together. We had no money. We had nothing but passion and determination. And so 7 years later, it's just been an incredible blessing to be where we are now with a national company. And so what we have at the Haven is we're on 10 university campuses, and we partner with universities as an extension of them. So we don't open a Haven without a university reaching out to us. And we set up on their campus programs and services that really develop a vibrant collegiate recovery community. So it's peer-led. The students really are the ones that can provide the strength to their fellow peers in a way that we can't. But along with that vibrant community, we have services. And so we have a sober living, a recovery residence that's peer run as well. But there's also a licensed clinician involved, just because so many of our students have co-occurring disorders and are on medication and those kinds of things. So there's an adult that oversees that, but it's really on a day-to-day basis, peer-led. We have outpatient center models, and those are programs where we offer 9-hour-a-week intensive outpatient programs for students that are struggling, so that they don't have to leave school, that they can actually stay in school and stay engaged in their life. One of the things for Holly and I, when we talked about the concept of the Haven, was from our own experience, what kept us away? What kept us, in spite of these negative consequences that were building up, and in the context of loss and a tremendous amount of energy, right? When you're in active addiction, trying to make life work. What kept us out of getting into recovery? And the answer was, we had no picture of what a life in recovery would look like that we wanted to be a part of. And in our own minds, we created, my scenario was, I'd have to be isolated. I'd have to be on my own. There'd be no way that I could be a part of life. And so our model at the Haven is that we are in the center of college life. So our programs, I'm here at USC, where we started, University of Southern California, and our outpatient center that I'm sitting in today is right in the center of campus. Our recovery residence is right across the street from campus. And our students are playing football, and they're in fraternities, and they're in sororities, and there's nothing that we tell our students that they can't do. Except for drink and use drugs, if they've made that commitment to live a sober lifestyle. And so we give them the tools to be able to have a college experience. And that was the same way for me. When I got sober, my fear was that my life was going to be over. So the ability to be able to keep them in the center of life, college life, give them a college experience, so that they can live their dreams, and as they do so, become the face and voice to their peers that might be struggling. So that's really what helps get at the stigma. That's what the Haven is all about.
That's fantastic, and it's a wonderful story of hope, and it's just music to a mom's ears, as you know. So, Sharon, if you were to leave our moms with one or two of your top encouraging words, what would they be?
Well, I would tell them that there is hope. There is absolutely hope. Um, I've seen it. I've seen students come in that can barely function, and their lives are turned around, and there is hope. So that's the first thing I would want uh, parents to know. Um, we tell our parents that they have to take care of themselves too. So self-care is so critical for the parents. We know that this is a family disease. We know how tough it is to be. I know as the daughter of an alcoholic how tough that was, and how scary it can be, and all of those things. And I think getting self-care for themselves as they're working through this with their children is really critical. But I guess really reach out. There even in 7 years that we've been doing this work, there is a movement. It's starting. It's not nearly as fast as I would like to see it because of this stigma, but there is a lot more discussion and PR about recovery than there ever was 7 years ago, and especially on college campuses, if that's part of the journey that a student wants to get on. Colleges, universities are just a microcosm of what's happening out there in public, but there is a I think people have had enough about the problem. You can't pick up a paper or turn on the news without hearing about the problem. But there is a lot of hope for recovery, and there is a lot of action and support out there for recovery. So I would really encourage the moms to reach out. Call us. We're here to be of service. I mean, even if you have a son or a daughter that isn't interested in getting, or they're graduated from college or whatever it is, we're pretty plugged into resources, and we'd love to help however we can. But I would really encourage them to reach out and to understand that they don't have to suffer in isolation. We say that addiction suffers in isolation. Recovery is all about community, right? And so it seems that if moms are already with your organization, that they've taken that first step, and I would just encourage them to continue to do so, and look for support, and become a part of the solution. Talking about it, I think, is the only way we're going to help smash the stigma.
That's perfect. I agree. And one of the slogans of TAM is "You're not alone." So that is very important. And we appreciate you recognizing that as well. So, well, great. So, Sharon, did you have anything else you wanted to share with us today?
I'm just delighted to have the opportunity to talk to you. So I'm humbled, and I'm honored that you would reach out to us, and however we can help. We are a mission-driven organization, and our communities are all inclusive. You don't have to be a student at these universities. So if there are moms out there that are in locations, we're coast to coast. We're on the East Coast, the West Coast, a couple of schools in the Midwest. If you happen to be near a haven, we'd welcome you into our family. Students can come, even if they're not going to college at that particular college, they can come and engage and be a part of. And that's what I would leave you with, I guess, an open invitation to the Haven anytime.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sharon. It has truly been an honor and a blessing to be able to speak with you this afternoon. And the Addicts Mom looks forward to this relationship. And we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, really really grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you.